for the president of Real Madrid. On Sunday, of course, the team lose 2-0 to Barcelona in the Clasico, and they lose the league. Tuesday, he has a press conference. A lot of controversial comments, a lot of attacking journalists for supposed making up stories about him. On Wednesday, he goes on the famous program Chiringuito in Spain. Another TV interview, again with some controversy. And again on Thursday, that fan backlash today we just saw at the Bernabeu arguing with fans, multiple banners. It's been, even by Real Madrid standards, a very chaotic week for Real Madrid. So to break it all down, we bring in our Spanish football correspondent, Phil Kitromilides. Phil, there's a lot to unpack here, so I'm just going to let you cook here a little bit. What is going on after this last few days at Real Madrid?
Oh, well, Stefano, you've summed up very nicely, I think, giving a very decent and succinct overview of what we've had over the last few days. I mean, at the moment, Real Madrid is kind of like car crash viewing. It's absolutely like you can't take your eyes off what is going on. And tonight at the Bernabeu was similar, not because of the football. Terrible game against Real Oviedo. Terrible game, terrible performance. They managed to win because they were, the least worst against the team that were bottom and already relegated, by a really poor performance. But there was just so much going on. You mentioned Florentino Perez, and that image is really striking of him sort of vociferously arguing with an elderly, even more elderly than him, potentially, Real Madrid fan. And then those banners being forcibly removed. That one says Florentino vete ya, Florentino go now. There was another one which was removed in the corner which said Florentino culpable, Florentino guilty. And to see those kind of banners being like visibly and forcibly and aggressively removed, the optics on that are absolutely terrible. So yeah, it's been quite a week for Real Madrid off the pitch, and I think it's going to continue because there seems no end in sight. Because if we're going to add to this mix Jose Mourinho, which I think we're going to add to this mix Jose Mourinho, it's going to be even more. It's going to be even more explosive. You mentioned Kylian Mbappe as well, who came on and got roundly whistled tonight at the Bernabeu. He was whistled when he came to warm up. He was whistled any time he got anywhere near the ball. He was whistled when he was through on goal to try and score, and the home fans were whistling him. They're absolutely furious at him. And this is a player who scored 85 goals in 101 appearances for Real Madrid, but they're furious at his behaviour off the pitch and the fact that the team hasn't been able to work with him on the pitch as well. So there is so much going on at Real Madrid and so much to be sorted out. And Florentino Perez is the man at the top. He's going to continue to be the man at the top. Yes, he's called elections, but I don't think anyone's going to stand against him. And even if they do, I don't think they're going to win. And this is going to continue, as it has done, for the last decade and a half or so, with Florentino Perez at the helm.
Phil, I'm so glad and excited to talk to you after all the horrible DMs and messages that I've been receiving from our most recent social media post, and most people would run away. I run towards the danger. We'll talk about Kylian Mbappe in just a minute, but let's stick to the president of Real Madrid and obviously the elections. Why has there not been a rival since 2004 competing against him? Could you break that down a little bit more in detail so people can understand why there hasn't been any competition for his role? But also, I want to ask you, what will it take to remove him from this role or potentially have us find somebody else lead Real Madrid going forward?
In Florentino's own words, he says, "You'll have to shoot me to get me out of here." That was literally, those were his words in that press conference. Why hasn't there been anyone to stand against him? Two reasons, really. One, because Florentino Perez changed the statutes to make it very, very difficult for anybody to stand against him. You have to be Spanish and a Real Madrid member, uninterrupted 20-year membership, and you also have to have about 15% of Real Madrid's annual budget in the bank to be able to guarantee as your own sort of personal wealth, which is around about, you have to have 190 million euros in the bank. So there really aren't that many people who can stand against Florentino Perez. But also there's the idea that he's a really powerful guy. This is one of the most powerful guys in Spain. He has an aura around him, and also he's been incredibly successful. We're talking about the most successful president in Real Madrid's modern history. He's got this aura around him. He's got an aura of fear around him. And look at these images, Someone's brought a banner, respectfully trying to hold up a banner saying, I disagree with Florentino. Florentino, you should go. And to have it wrestled off you like that is it just looks really, really terrible. But we know, and you saw it, the whole world saw it on Tuesday, Florentino cannot take criticism at all, cannot stand anybody criticizing him. His mindset is, you're with me. If you're not with me, you're against me. You're not with me, you're against me. So I think we've seen that time and time again. We saw it very clearly. That doesn't take away from him being a very successful president. He's been a very, very successful president for Real Madrid. They've won numerous Champions League under his leadership, and he has taken them onto a next level. You know, richest club in the world, a huge global brand. That's one thing, but the way he has done it is another thing.
I feel like even with everything that's gone on with Florentino Perez, he's even losing some of his most fervent supporters. And that you're seeing that with the signs in the stadium, but even outside of the stadium, several fans that have been supporting him from the very beginning are starting to crack a little bit on that. And I think it's because now it's starting to affect the brand. Would you agree with that statement? Is these antics by the president affecting the brand that is Real Madrid?
No, well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that. I would also say tonight we did see those two banners in the stands that were visibly and forcibly removed. There wasn't as big a protest from the fans as I expected, actually. It wasn't as bad as when they played at Levante in February, when they'd just been knocked out of the Copa del Rey and the Spanish Super Cup. That was historic. That was the whole game whistles. Tonight, there weren't that many chances for Florentino to resign. You know, there weren't. And there weren't that many chances and whistles against the players, you know, against Mbappe, against Vinicius, but it wasn't as bad, it wasn't as toxic as I was expecting it to be. And I think, you know, it would be difficult for the Real Madrid brand to be damaged by a few comments from and some actions from the president. But let me tell you something, there are a lot of Real Madrid fans here in Madrid who agree with the president. Quite like the president, likes the president being sort of aggressive and on the front foot and attacking journalists. And they think, you know, people believe what Florentino Perez believes, that there is this conspiracy against Real Madrid, whether it's the referees or La Liga or UEFA or FIFA or anyone else that they've fallen out with that I've missed out. They seem to think that, you know, everybody is against them. So there is a large chunk of Real Madrid fans that buy into that. And that's been a pretty successful messaging campaign from Florentino Perez. So I don't think it's damaged the brand. And I do think there was a good chunk of Real Madrid fans, certainly here in Spain and here in Madrid, who will actually agree with quite a lot of what he said on Tuesday.
Phil, talk to me about this. I mean, this is quite interesting to me from the outside looking into Real Madrid. Kylian Mbappe getting booed by his own supporters?
Yeah, getting booed by his own supporters. And, you know, you were talking about the Real Madrid brand and potentially damaging the brand and everything. What is the Real Madrid brand? The Real Madrid brand is based on winning. It is based on success. It is based on the relentless pursuit and acquisition of major trophies, which has not happened in the last 2 years. Curiously enough, the 2 years that Kylian Mbappe has been at the club. I think you have to sort of go back a little bit and, you know, remember what it took for Real Madrid to bring Kylian Mbappe to this club. 7-year wait. He turned them down. He said he was coming and then he didn't come. He backtracked. He played Real Madrid. You don't tend to play Real Madrid and Florentino Perez, but he did. And eventually they got him. Eventually they welcomed him in. And it hasn't worked out. So despite all those goals, Real Madrid is based on winning. And if your goals do not bring success, then you cannot be viewed as a success. And if you add to that questions about his attitude, about how much he works for the team, about how much he's willing to put in, about his hierarchy within the dressing room, and then off the field stuff as well, you know, going on holiday with his girlfriend who happens to be a famous Spanish actress, and you're being tapped on a yacht in Cagliari when the team is doing terribly, and then you come back and you put a story on Instagram saying "Hello Madrid" with a little white heart when you're 2-0 down in the Clasico. Just, he is a very bright guy. He's a very sharp man, Kylian Mbappe. When you speak to him, you're speaking to someone, you're like, yeah, he is switched on. He knows what he's doing. Either he has made some very bad choices or he's been advised terribly, because his last few PR moves have been awful. And actually tonight, I felt he was kind of like challenging crowd. It felt like it was a little bit of a duel between Mbappe and the crowd, because every time he sort of got the ball, he was asking for the ball, he was almost sort of dwelling on the ball, almost urging the crowd to go on then, whistle me, you know, I don't care, I'll deal with it. And then he was going for goal and shooting a lot and taking free kicks and trying to score to sort of prove them wrong. So It was fascinating to watch. Another chapter in the telenovela that is Real Madrid, but it's not good. It's not good for the club to have this kind of situation.
It definitely is an interesting situation, and yeah, they haven't won. He's still scored 85 goals over the last 2 seasons for this club, but not winning, still getting jeered. And like you mentioned, another chapter in the telenovela that is Real Madrid, especially in this past week. Phil Kitromilides, thanks for joining us, my man.
Pleasure, guys.
Let's continue the conversation here, Ian. Again, do you think that the fans are in the right here? Because, yes, they're not winning, and that's what all fans want. They want trophies. But you're going to turn your ire on your best player who scored 85 goals for you in the past 2 seasons. Yes, some questionable attitude, but still your best player. You sure you want to do that and make him start feeling the wrath of fans when you're leading this team? And without you, where would this team be?
Yeah, he just completed his 100th appearance for the club, and that was 101, and I'm sure he won't forget 101. 85 goals is ridiculous to be scoring, and of course it's an incredible rate that he is scoring goals. He's a fabulous player, he's a global icon. In my personal opinion, at his best, at his peak, he's unstoppable. There's no better player in world football than him. He's obviously taken over the throne from Lionel Messi, as far as I'm concerned, in being the world's #1 player. But he needs to win trophies. He wants to win that Champions League trophy. The reason why he went to Real Madrid was to win the Champions League. They had won it the year before, right? Then he arrives, and of course his other club went on to win the Champions League. So who is the problem? Is Kylian Mbappe but a part of the problem at Real Madrid? Is he one of the reasons why they're not winning trophies? Is he one of the reasons why the chemistry's not quite right? Well, as Phil just pointed out there, taking vacations in the middle of the season doesn't help you integrate yourself into the Real Madrid institution. If you're winning trophies, you can do what you want. At Real Madrid, a history like that of winning trophies, if you don't win trophies, you don't do what you want. You've got to get your head down and continue to help every single player around you be better. Real Madrid right now are so far away from competing for a Champions League trophy as far as I'm concerned. And actually, if you look at it right now, Barcelona are taking such great strides, they might win the league for the next 5 years. I've got a stat for all you Real Madrid fans out there that you might want to get comfortable with. Real Madrid has won 21 of the 22 matches it's played at home on Thursdays in La Liga. Maybe you want to start playing on Thursdays in the European competitions as well, because that might be a trophy you could win. Because in my opinion, this group of players under this leadership will not win another Champions League trophy for a very long time.
A lot needs to change. Some interesting quotes from Kylian Mbappe after this match. He says, quote, "Holiday in Italy with my girlfriend? I had the club's permission, and I was not the only player to leave Spain." What are your thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, listen, is someone trying to justify exactly why he took a vacation away? I understand what players have gone through. It's ridiculous how many games they're playing. At some point, you do need to switch off, right? It's important to be able to do that. But I think there's a time for it. And when you're winning, and of course, understandably so, getting that moment from the club, it's great. But when you're not winning and you're being knocked out of competitions, it's never a good time. I actually think that this football club right now, and I mentioned it a few months ago, it's on the road to nowhere, and it's not Kylian Mbappe's fault, I don't think. These goals that he's scoring, 85 and 101 appearances, is absolutely insane. It's the pieces around him, but it's also the impact of Kylian Mbappe in the locker room. Is there a selfishness there? Are the players enjoying playing with Kylian? Does Kylian enjoy playing with the rest of the players? Do they need to bring in new players? Do they need to get rid of Kylian Mbappe? Or is it a problem above them? Well, we just probably had that answer when Florentino Perez's press conference. An absolute joke. I thought it was truly embarrassing for the whole of Real Madrid. As a human being watching it from afar, this man should be removed without even question. I don't think he's the right person to lead this group going forward. And I think, unfortunately, after watching some of his words and what we just witnessed, putting hands on, arguing, facing, pointing at fans in front of your own supporters in your stadium is truly embarrassing. That's not the Real Madrid way. And all of you Real Madrid fans out there, you should be ashamed of him.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's a shameful situation, what we're seeing. It's shameful, the press conference, and it's really shameful to see that in person in the stadium in front of your own fans. Some more quotes from Kylian Mbappe.
Keep them coming.
And there's some interesting ones here, because this is against Arbeloa. This says in Spanish, estaba para ser titular. He said he was going to be the starter against Oviedo, but Arbeloa has decided that I would be the 4th striker for Real Madrid on the day. Comes out and says that against his manager right after the match. Is this helping him, or is this putting him in an even worse situation with the club and with the manager and with the current squad?
Do you think that Arbeloa made that decision? I don't. I think it comes from above. I think the decision maker is coming from above. It might be Florentino Perez. It might be leading down from him all the way to Arbeloa.
Why would he sit? Why would he want Mbappe to sit in a match?
To prove a point of power. This is the problem. This was the whole meaning of this press conference, to show power. You heard from Phil Kitromilides right there. You need 180 million in the bank to even compete against this guy for running a football club. It's absolutely insane. He's manipulated the rules and regulations. I find it pathetic. It's embarrassing. It should never happen. And actually, the governing bodies should have a closer look at how Real Madrid and these football clubs are actually run, because it's not their football club. It actually belongs to the supporters and the members of Real Madrid. And when you see moments like that, where the whole stadium is booing, and they're booing Kylian Mbappe, and they're watching their club president act like a fool,
yes,
it's only a matter of time for me.